Same thing as usual. Let's find our comfortable sitting position on the mat. Up to you what you do with the legs. You might want to cross them over. You might want to throw them out in front. Maybe have a little bit of a wiggle from one side to another. Finding a place of stillness and comfort. Taking a big breath in through the nose. And on the exhale, maybe dipping the chin ever so slightly towards the chest, lengthening through the back of the neck. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's close the eyes. And bring all the attention to the breathing. Just trying to create a little focus and concentration. Paying mind to the breath in and the breath out. Trying to turn the home into something of a yoga studio so that we can find that extra focus to get us through the practice without thinking about all the other things that happen at home. If you find for some reason that you're getting distracted or the thoughts are pulling away, that's fine. Forgive it and just move on. Bring the attention back to the breathing each time. It doesn't need to be perfect. Let's take one more breath in. And one more exhale. Let's blink the eyes open and let's start to get a little bit of movement going. So we're going to start with our arms and shoulders. You can drop the hands down beside the body and then take a breath in. Reach the arms out to the sides of the room. Lift them up overhead. Make a little prayer at the top. And exhale the prayer down past the nose and mouth towards the chest. Let's interlace the fingers together. Turn the palms towards the face. Breathe in, lift up. And exhale, turn the hands out. Push the arms away. Drop the head down. Maybe have a little bit of a wiggle one side to another, opening out with the ribs. And on an inhale, let's lift the arms up overhead, stretching really high. Maybe you can wiggle the arms behind the ears a little bit if you've got space. And exhale to release the hands out to the sides of the room, stretching as much as possible. Bring the hands behind the back. Let's interlace the fingers together. If you want to leave the hands there, that's fine. If you want to, you can pull the shoulder blades in towards one another. Lift the hands away from the lower spine. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, let's release the hands back down. Maybe give them a bit of a wiggle. And we'll do the same thing second time. Breathe in, reach the arms out to the sides of the body and up overhead. Make a prayer. And exhale the prayer down past the nose and mouth towards the chest. Let's interlace the fingers together. Point the palms towards the face. Breathe in, lift up. And exhale, turn the hands out. Push the arms away. Drop the head down. Have a little wiggle one side to another if you wish. And breathe in to lift the arms up overhead, moving the arms behind the ears a little bit if you've got the space. And exhale, release the hands to the sides of the room, bring them behind the spine, interlace the fingers together. If you want to, pulling the shoulder blades towards one another, lifting the hands from the lower spine. Breathe in. And exhale, let's release it all back to center. Give the hands a little bit of a shake and a wiggle. And then we're going to drop the head from one side, inhaling to center, and exhaling to the other. You can go nice and slowly. There's no need to rush. Just following the pattern through one side to the other, opening out through the sides of the neck. And once you've done it twice or three times and we're back to center, you can exhale the head forward, chin towards the chest. Inhale it back to center. And exhale the head back behind. Breathe into center Exhale to front. Inhale and exhale it back. And bring it back to center again. Maybe give the head a little bit of a wiggle from one side to another. And we're going to move forward to the spine. So dropping the hands down onto the floor, swinging the legs behind us to come to our tabletop position. Maybe stacking the shoulders on top of the wrists. If you fancy going a little bit further forward or backwards, that's absolutely fine. Let's get a little bit of movement into the spine. Take a breath in, lifting the head towards the ceiling, dropping the belly to the floor. And exhale, rounding the spine, tucking the chin towards the chest, pushing into the mat with the knees, the legs, and the arms. Inhale, lifting the head up, dropping the belly down. And exhale, back underneath, chin towards the chest, really pushing against all the points on the mat like you could lift off. Take one more breath in, lift the head up, drop the belly down. And on the exhale, let's bring it back to our neutral position in the center. Let's separate the fingers out a little bit wider so we can really push down into the knuckles. Let's tuck the toes underneath and let's lift the hips up for our first downward dog. First one is always the worst one. You can keep the knees bent for as long as you need to. If you want to think about beginning to straighten the legs, maybe you can pedal the feet. Bring a little bit of movement and space into your downward dog. Find a way to make it comfortable. Make any movements you want to facilitate that. You might want to wiggle the hips from one side to another. You might want to come back to bent knees. Lift with the hips whenever you can. Take one more inhale here. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees and look forward. Inhale, step the right foot forward and the left foot forward. Let's wrap the hands around one another, grabbing hold of the arms. And sway a little bit from one side to the next. Getting a little bit of extra movement into the backs of the legs. Then let's bring it back to center. Drop the hands towards the feet. Maybe bend the knees a little bit. And on a breath in, start to stand upright, lifting the torso little bit by little bit. Last thing up, shoulders, neck, head. Let's go with our Surya Namaskara A. Take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead, look up. And exhale, fold the hands down to the mat, bend the knees. Inhale, maybe reaching the fingertips towards the floor or resting the hands on the shins if you prefer. And exhale, plant the hands, step the right foot back and the left foot back to our plank. And let's lower it down. Knees first if you wish, tucking the elbows in. Inhale forward for our cobra. If you want to take it on the forearms, go for it. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up for our downward dog. Same thing goes, maybe it's still a little bit uncomfortable. Separate the fingers, push down into the knuckles. Every inhale, lift the hips. And on the exhale, if you're not still pedaling the feet, maybe think about dropping the heels closer towards the mat. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees, look forward. Inhale, step the right foot forward and the left foot forward. Lengthen through the backs of the legs, reach the fingertips towards the floor or hands to shins. And exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands. Inhale, straighten the legs, reach the arms up overhead, straighten the torso, gaze up. And exhale, back to standing. Second time around, take a breath in, arms up overhead, look up. And exhale, fold the hands down to the floor, bend the knees as much as you need to. Inhale to the fingertips, lengthen the backs of the legs. And exhale, plant the hands, step or jump it back to our plank and lower it down. Knees first if you wish, or full chaturanga. Inhale forward for our upward dog or cobra, shoulders dropping from the ears. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Might be feeling a little bit more comfortable now, but same thing goes, every inhale trying to lift the hips. And on the exhale, maybe trying to drop the heels. At any point, you can take a little child's pose or drop the knees to the floor if you need some kind of a rest, that's fine. But wherever you're at, take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees, look forward. Inhale, step or jump it to the top of the mat. Lengthen through the backs of the legs, reach the fingertips towards the floor. And exhale, plant the hands, bend the knees, exhale it all out. Inhale, let's straighten the legs, reach the arms up overhead, gaze up. And exhale, back to standing. Surya Namaskar. Let's take a breath in, arms up overhead, sitting back into our chair for Utkatasana. And exhale the hands down to the floor, keeping the knees bent. Inhale to the fingertips, lengthen the backs of the legs. And exhale, plant the hands, step or jump it back to our plank and lower it down, your choice of how. Inhale forward to our cobra or upward dog. And exhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Let's inhale, bring the right foot forward between the hands, drop the left heel down, stretch the arms up overhead, front leg bent, warrior one. And exhale the hands back to the mat. Step the right foot back, lower it down, your choice of how. Inhale forward for our cobra or upward dog. And exhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Let's inhale that left foot forward, drop the right heel down, stretch the arms up overhead, front leg bent for our warrior one. And exhale the hands back to the mat, step the left foot back and lower it all down. Inhale forward for our cobra and exhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. By now, breathing rate will be gone up a little, heart rate will be gone up a little. Maybe the body's starting to feel a little warmer, but you might have a notion that something feels a little bit niggly or wiggly. Maybe something's a little bit stiff or uncomfortable. It's nice to know about it here so that you'll be aware of it for the rest of the practice. Like I say, not everything needs to be perfect all the time. Wherever you're at, take a big breath in. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees and look forward. Inhale, step or jump it to the top of the mat. Lengthen through the backs of the legs, reach the fingertips towards the floor. And exhale, plant the hands, bend the knees. Inhale, let's reach the arms up overhead, sitting back into our chair. And exhale, back to standing. Well done, amazing. Cool, we're gonna come back to our chair pose, so make sure you've got plenty of space in front of you for reaching forward or to the side. And we're gonna take a breath in, arms up overhead. And on the exhale, let's sit down just a little bit into our Utkatasana. So we're really tucking the tailbone underneath, pulling the ribs in front, keeping a tight column in the middle of the body. See if you can reach the arms up a little higher on the breath in. And use the exhale to sit a little lower if you've got space. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's straighten the torso out in front of us, reaching forward with the hands, maybe getting the torso down onto the legs. Breathe in for our half chair. And exhale, maybe sit a little lower if you've got space. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's start to straighten the legs. Reach the hands towards the feet. Maybe separating the feet out to hip width distance or further if you wish. And if you can reach towards the toes, maybe looping the peace fingers around the big toes. Taking a second to lengthen through the backs of the legs. And on the exhale, maybe bending the elbows out to the side, surrendering the head down completely for our Padangusthasana. If you find that hanging onto the toes is too much stress or you just don't like it, you could also hang on to the back of the legs, absolutely fine. But no matter where you're at, every inhale, lengthen through the backs of those legs and use the exhale to push or surrender a little bit further down. Breathe in and exhale. Take one more inhale. On the exhale, release the hands from wherever they're at, fingertips reaching towards the floor. And then let's bring the hands to the hips, tuck the chin towards the chest. And on a breath in, let's start to lift everything upright, really taking your time. No need to go too quickly. Give yourself a second to just find yourself back up straight. And we can drop the hands back down by the waist. Maybe give yourself a little bit of a wiggle if that'll help. And then let's move forward. So we're going to push the left foot out in front of us, and we're going to reach the right foot back behind, pointed in a 45-degree angle to get ready for our triangle pose. So we're inhaling the arms to parallel. Take a breath in, reach that left hand forward as far as we can, and exhale, fold the left hand down towards the floor, right arm up towards the ceiling. If you want to look down towards your foot, feel free, but if you've got good balance today, maybe you can loop around and look up towards the ceiling. So even looking at your own right hand, inhale, and on the exhale, maybe opening the chest just a little bit more, constantly twirling towards the roof. Breathe in and exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's look down towards the left foot if we're not there already. Let's inhale, lift the torso back upright, all that strength in the lower body. And then let's bring the hands back down by the sides. We're going to wobble this right foot in a little bit, and then we're going to step it out a little bit towards the edge of the mat. So we're buying ourselves some space. And then we're going to take a big breath in, right arm out in front, and exhale, reach it across the body. Grab hold of the outside of the left leg. It doesn't matter where, it doesn't need to be perfect. Maybe you can bring the left hand onto the lower spine. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, use that torque of the body to turn everything slightly more towards the left. If you fancy it, if you've got space for it, maybe you can reach that left arm up towards the ceiling completely. Inhale to maybe look up towards that arm if you've got it lifted. But if you find that that's all too much, just look down towards the left foot instead. Take a breath in. And an exhale. Take one more inhale, really lifting everything. And on the exhale, if you've lifted the left arm, maybe bring it back to the lower spine. Look down towards the left leg. And let's inhale to lift the torso upright, really strong through the legs. Rest the hands on the hips. And then let's step the right foot forward to join the left, releasing the hands back down, loosening out anything that feels a little bit tight. So same thing, opposite side, our triangle on both sides. So right foot pointing forward, let's step the left foot back behind us in at our 45-degree angle. Breathe in, bring the arms to parallel, and reach that right hand forward as far as we can. Then exhale, right hand down towards the floor, left hand up towards the ceiling. If you feel like you're collapsing a little bit into the hip, it could be because you're reaching the hand too far down towards the floor. Then if you lift that right hand up a little bit, you'll get more space to open the chest towards the ceiling. Take a breath in and an exhale. Take one more inhale, lifting super high with the left hand. And on the exhale, look down towards the right foot if you're not there already. Let's breathe in, pushing into the legs to lift the arms up, back to our triangle position. And let's exhale, bring the hands back down by the sides. Have a look at your left foot. We're going to step that left foot forward a little bit, and then out to the edge of the mat a little bit, making our base wider. Take a breath in, reach that left arm out in front, and then reach across the body, grasping anywhere on the outside of the right leg to revolve our triangle. You can bring the right hand onto the lower back, take a breath in, and use the exhale to turn the body towards the side, maybe looking out towards the right-hand side if you wish. And if you know you've got space for it, maybe you can reach that right arm up towards the ceiling and then follow the gaze up there as well. If you try something like that and you find that it just doesn't work, no big deal. Drop the right hand back to the lower back and focus instead on turning the torso sideways, getting this big revolution into the pose. Breathe in and exhale. Take one more breath in. And on the exhale, let's look down towards the right foot if you're not there already, bringing the right hand to the lower spine if you're not there yet. And then take an inhale. Let's lift the torso upright, bringing the hands to the hips along the way. And let's exhale, step that left foot forward to join the right. Release the hands, maybe have a bit of a wiggle if anything feels a little bit stiff. We're going to keep that left foot pointed forward, and we're going to step the right foot out behind. So a wider stance this time for our warrior two. So left foot pointing forward and the right foot's in a T position. So your left heel lines up with your right arch. We're going to bring the arms to parallel. Take a big breath in, look out over the left middle finger. And on the exhale, let's bend over that left leg into our warrior two. It's up to you to have a look at your alignment. So maybe you can notice whether that left leg is trespassing forward a little bit and tucking in. Think about pushing it out and opening it to the side a little extra. Maybe you don't feel anything significant here, and so you might need to widen the stance on the mat to make this a little bit more challenging. Maybe you don't want so much challenge. Feel free to do what feels right and best. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, if you fancy it, you can maybe drop a little bit lower. We're trying to keep the knee stacked over the ankle. So we don't want to go too far forward. It's going to be too much. Take a big inhale. And on the exhale, let's lower the left arm onto the left thigh. Let's swoop the right arm underneath the body, twisting up and open overhead. Maybe you can look towards the right middle finger. Take a breath in. And an exhale. Have a little focus on this left arm. If you've got it dropped and you're hanging your shoulder into it, you're not doing a significant amount of work. Think about pushing against the leg, opening out through that shoulder joint. Breathe in. And exhale. On the next inhale, we're going to lift everything back to our warrior two position. Find a second to make it work. And then we're going to wiggle the right foot in a little bit, and we're going to get ready for our warrior three. So make sure you've got space in front of you because you're at home. Pushing down into the left leg, we're going to lift the right leg away from the mat, folding ourselves forward, straight on the left leg, right leg pushing out behind. I did not give myself enough space in my kitchen. It's up to you. If you want to roll the hands alongside the body, that's fine. Maybe you prefer to stretch them out to the sides. Maybe you even prefer to stretch them out in front. It's up to you. Think about squaring those hips so that the right hip is still kind of level with the floor. Take a breath in. And an exhale. These all look really, really good. Breathe in, really pushing with the left leg, super strong. And on the exhale, let's slowly lower that right leg back down to the mat. Let's lift the arms back to our warrior two position. Maybe wiggle that left leg forward a little bit or the right one back if we need to. Inhale. And on the exhale, let's drop the right hand to the back of the right leg. Swoop the left arm overhead, reversing our warrior. Breathe in. And exhale. And on the inhale, let's bring it back to our warrior two position. Have a look down at your left foot. We're going to cartwheel the hands down to frame that left foot. We're going to pivot onto the right toes so that we're pointing forwards, and then step the left foot back to join the right in our plank and lower it down. Up to you how you want to do it. Inhale forward to our cobra. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up. Downward dog. So use this downward dog to take a little breather. Have an opportunity to reduce the breathing rate or the heart rate. Maybe have a bit of a wiggle from one side to another if something has made you a little bit stiff. Take a breath in. And an exhale. And on the next inhale, have a look forward, and we're going to step the right foot forward towards the top of the mat. We're going to drop that left heel down and turn it to the side so that we've got the right heel lining up with the left arch. And we're going to inhale the arms up so that we're back in our warrior two position on the opposite side. Looks good. Cool. Same set of adjustments here. We're looking out over that right middle finger. Have a look down at your right leg. Maybe it needs to be moved out a little bit to the side. Maybe you want to widen the stance a little bit more to drop a little lower. Totally up to you. Take an inhale and an exhale. Really dropping the shoulders from the ears. Think about pulling the ribs in, tucking the tailbone underneath. Inhale. And on the exhale, let's lower that right forearm onto the thigh. Swoop the left arm underneath and up overhead, twisting the chest towards the ceiling, and maybe looking at that left middle finger. Inhale. And exhale. On the next breath in, give a little thought to the right forearm. Push the right forearm against the right leg to lift a little bit higher, really separating out those parts of the body as much as you can. Breathe in. And on the exhale, let's look down towards the right foot. Let's inhale, bringing the arms back to our warrior two position. Let's shuffle the left leg in a little bit in preparation for our warrior three. If that means, like me, you actually need to shuffle backwards a little bit so as not to hit a cupboard, go for it. Take one breath in. And then let's step it all forward, pushing down into the right leg, lifting the left leg off the floor, pushing the torso towards the floor, arms alongside the body or anywhere else you want to put them. That's absolutely fine. Take a breath in. Think again about pulling the shoulders away from the ears, letting the head be strong in its own right. Thinking about squaring those hips so that the left leg is still parallel with the floor. Breathe in. And exhale. Right leg super strong. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's gently lower that left leg back to the mat. I nearly fell over. It's fine if you did too. And we'll find our way back to our warrior two, our nice aligned position. Take one inhale here. And on the exhale, let's drop the left hand to the back of the left leg. Swoop the right arm back behind us to reverse our warrior. Breathe in. And exhale. And on the inhale, let's bring it all back to center, back to our warrior two position, looking out over the right middle finger and then down towards the right foot. Let's lower the hands down and frame that right foot. Let's tuck those left toes so that we're pointing forward and then step the right foot back to join the left in our plank and lower it down. Inhale forward to our upward dog or cobra. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. If you found that that's put you pretty out of breath, maybe you want to take a child's pose instead, that's fine. Or if you just fancy a rest, that's also okay. I've got no objection. But same thing goes, if something feels a little bit stiff or weird, feel free to do any movement that might release any tension. Take a breath in and an exhale. On the next inhale, in our downward dog, let's lift the right leg up behind us into the sky. Let's bend the right knee and let's move that leg forward the whole way towards the top of the mat, landing the right knee close to the right wrist. You can drop the left knee down onto the floor and we'll get ready for our pigeon pose. So it's up to you what variations you want to take. You might want to grab hold of the right foot and move it forward a little bit if you know the hips are open. You might want to wiggle the left leg back. I do this every time, but actually there's no discernible difference at all, but maybe you will get some difference. Take a big inhale, lengthen through the spine. And on the exhale, really surrender the torso the whole way down to the mat. If you want to drop the head onto the hands, feel free. Maybe you just want the head to hang, totally up to you. If this feels like a really intense stretch in the hip joint, either hip joint really, or even the back of the glutes, you really need to try and sit into it a little bit more. We don't want it to be sore, but a little bit of uncomfortableness is fine. Maybe if you fancy it, you could start to rock a little bit from one side to another, getting a little bit deeper. And if you find that you've gone too far and it's just too much, maybe tuck that right foot back in a little bit, and that should relieve a little bit of tension. This is a really nice place to just close the eyes. And notice what's happening in the body. Notice the heart rate coming down, the breathing rate relaxing. Noticing if anything feels a little bit stiff, feeling the stretch in the hip joint. Take a breath in and an exhale. And on the next inhale, let's start to lift the torso back upright. Let's separate the hands out towards the sides of the mat. Let's tuck the left toes underneath and lift the left leg. And let's swoop the right one back to join the left in a downward dog. Take a breath in, lifting with the hips. And an exhale, holding the position. And then inhale, let's lift that left foot up behind us into the sky. Let's bend the left knee and let's carry the leg forward as far as we can to the top of the mat. Left knee landing somewhere behind the left wrist. Same thing goes here. You can shuffle the other leg back. You can grab hold of the left foot and move it forward a little bit. Find the position that suits you, bearing in mind that both sides of the body might be a little bit different. Take a breath in and lengthen with the spine. And on the exhale, surrender it all down towards the mat. Do the same thing with the head on one side as the other, unless you really disliked it first time around. And same thing goes. Maybe this one feels a little bit trickier or stiffer. Maybe you want to rock a little bit from one side to another. Maybe you can close the eyes. Notice what's going on with the breathing. Get a sense of how the body feels. And same thing as before, if you suddenly realize that you've gone a bit too deep or too far, feel free to dial it back a little bit. Tuck that left foot back in underneath you and find a little bit of relief. Let's take a breath in and an exhale. And on the next inhale, let's push into the hands, lifting the torso back upright. Let's separate those hands out towards the sides of the mat. Let's tuck the right toes underneath, lift the right leg, and let's swoop the left one back to join the right in our downward dog. Take a big breath in, lifting with the hips. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees, look forward. Inhale, step the right foot forward and the left foot forward. Straighten with the backs of the legs, reach the fingertips towards the mat. Even if you usually put hands on shins, maybe reach them towards the mat and see if you get any further than usual. And then exhale, bend the knees a little bit, rest the hands against the floor. And inhale, let's straighten with the legs, reach the arms up overhead, gaze up. And exhale, back to standing. Take one inhale here. And one exhale. And let's get ready for our balance pose, our tree. So it's up to you what variation of tree you want to do. We'll separate the feet out to hip width distance apart. And we'll push down into the right foot until we can lift the left foot away with some comfort. So this will give you an idea of whether you're having a good balance day or not so good balance day. Once the leg is lifted away, we can bring it to whatever variation we choose, ankle, calf, inner upper thigh. If you want to bring it to half lotus, you can. I wore my cotton leggings, which means that definitely won't work. Whichever variation you pick, and it makes no difference, it'll still be a test of the balance. And once you've found it, bring the hands to prayer at the center of the chest. You've got two options here. You can inhale to lift the prayer up overhead and exhale to open out to make branches of a tree. Or if you want to go forward, you can hold the hands in prayer, and as you exhale, start to bend the torso forward and down. Particularly if you're in half lotus, this gets pretty intense, pretty fast. If you want to reach the hands down towards the floor, you can. Totally up to you. But same thing goes, if you find that you've gone a little bit too far or you need to take a break, that's absolutely fine. Regardless of anything else, if you've reached the hands up overhead and open, maybe think about tucking the ribs underneath, tucking the tailbone underneath, keeping the middle of the body really, really strong. Taking a breath in and an exhale. These all look amazing, guys. Well done. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's bring the hands back towards the center of the chest and inhale, starting to lift back up from below, or exhale the hands back from above. And then let's release the leg down, release the hands, give everything a little bit of a shake. Amazing. If you found that you got really far and then fell out of it, no big deal, doesn't matter. And you might find that the other side goes a little bit better or a little bit worse, who knows. So we're going to push down into the left leg until the right one can lift away, giving yourself a few seconds to find the balance. It's not a rush job. And you can bring the foot to whatever variation you'd like, preferably the one you used on the other side. And once you're there and you've got the space, bringing the arms to center of the chest. You can take an inhale to lift the arms up overhead and open out like branches of a tree, or you can exhale, folding the torso down towards the floor And depending on how far down you go, maybe releasing the hands down as well. Totally up to you which variation you pick or choose from. If you've lifted the arms up overhead, tucking the ribs, tucking the tailbone, keeping everything strong. If anything feels like it's too much or you've overdone it, that's fine. Just start to dial it back. No big deal. These look really great. Take a big inhale. And on the exhale, if you're upright, you can start to bring the hands back towards the chest. And if you're down below, on an inhale, start to lift everything back up. And once everyone's back to our central position, we can lower the leg and drop the arms and give everything a little bit of a shake. Well done. Not necessarily easy. We're going to step it back to the top of the mat. Make sure we've got lots of space behind us. And take an inhale. Reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Gaze up. And exhale, fold the hands down to the floor. Bend the knees. Inhale to the fingertips. Lengthen the backs of the legs. And exhale, plant the hands, step or jump it back to our plank, and let's lower it down. Your choice of how, but tucking the elbows. Inhale forward for our cobra or upward dog. And exhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips back up. Downward dog. Have a little think about how this downward dog feels compared to the very first one. Take an inhale and lift the hips. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees. And we're going to come forward to seating, any way you choose. Sitting down on the mat, popping both legs out in front. Give yourself a second to find a little bit of comfort. And we'll come for our Paschimottanasana, our forward fold. So pointing the toes up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in, lift the arms up overhead. And on the exhale, let's focus the torso forward and down, reaching towards the toes. If you can reach the toes, grab hold with the peace fingers. If you can't get to the toes, hang on anywhere on the legs, absolutely fine. Or if you want to go to the fingers, you can do that with bent knees as well. It doesn't matter. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, if you've got the space, maybe pulling the elbows out to the side, maybe dropping the head down, letting it surrender forward a little bit. And give a little bit of thought to the pelvic floor and the lower spine. If you think about turning that forward a little bit, you might just get an extra centimeter or so of space if that's what you're looking for. Take a breath in. And an exhale. Think about still dropping the shoulders away from the ears, even if you've got the head hung low. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more breath in. Let's lift the arms up overhead, keeping the spine nice and straight, legs nice and straight, toes pointing up. And exhale out to the side, bringing the hands to rest beside the bum on either side. We come for our Dandasana, our staff pose. So you want to really engage the quad muscles here. So think about pulling up on the kneecaps so that the quads get super strong in the front. So the legs are lifting up a little bit. And then imagine there's a little string going from the top of your head to the top of your bum, and pull the string so that the torso gets strong and the spine gets super straight. So you're sort of like a clamp. You've got both sides of the body reaching towards one another for something very specific, and it's lots of effort. So you can keep the hands beside you next to the bum if you like that. If you don't, you can rest them on the thighs, no problem with that. Take a breath in. We're just holding this position, keeping the spine super straight. Maybe tucking the chin ever so slightly towards the chest. Inhale. And exhale. Take one more inhale. Maybe the legs are beginning to shake or the spine feels not so strong anymore. And on the exhale, let's release it all. Let the body get a little bit slack. Give the legs a bit of a wiggle. If you kind of overdid it with the spine, maybe give the shoulders a bit of a push from one side to another. And then we're going to move forward. So we're pulling the right leg in towards the chest as tight as we can for our Janu Shirshasana. We're letting that leg fall out to the side, pushing the sole of the foot against the inside of the thigh. Make sure you're sitting as comfortably as you can be. And take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead. Maybe twist a little bit to the left and fold forward over the left foot. If you can reach the foot with both hands, cool, go for it, that's fine. If you can't get there, you've got a leg. Hang on to the leg instead. Absolutely fine, and it doesn't matter where you have to stop. If you can reach the foot with one hand but not the other, that's also fine. This is all about finding your own edge, your own place where the back of the hamstring is getting a really nice stretch, but you don't feel like it's sore. Take a breath in and an exhale. Maybe think about the torso in the middle of the body. Maybe you've started to tip towards the left, and you could start to route things back towards the center a little bit, bringing the arms back to parallel. Breathe in and exhale. Take one more inhale. Release the hands from the foot. Exhale in this position. And on the inhale, let's lift the torso back upright. And we're ready to swap over to the opposite side. So we're going to pop the right leg out in front, pull the left leg in instead. Pull it in tight towards the chest, and then drop it out to the side, rolling the sole of the foot against the inside of the thigh. Same thing, have a bit of a wiggle, make it comfortable. And on the breath in, lift the arms up overhead. Let's twist a little bit to the right and fold forward over that right foot. You might find one side of this a lot trickier than the other. That's absolutely fine. It just means you may not need to go as far or as deeply into the second side. There's no point in overdoing it. And same thing goes, if you can reach towards the foot with both hands, maybe you'll notice if the torso has fallen to the right a little bit, and you can reroute yourself back towards the center. Really focusing in on the hamstring, the back of the leg, getting a really solid stretch. Take a breath in and an exhale. Take one more inhale, release the hands from the feet. Exhale in this position. And on the breath in, let's lift the torso back upright and pop the left leg out in front. Give the legs a little bit of a wiggle. And then we're going to cross them over and we're going to take our little side twist. So it's up to you how much you want to cross the legs over. Maybe you want to even lie them kind of flat on the floor. Totally up to you what you choose to do. We're going to bring the right hand to the outside of the left leg. We're going to do this on both sides, so it doesn't matter if you get the directions wrong. We'll bring the left hand behind us onto the mat. Take a big inhale, lengthen through the spine. And on the exhale, use that torque to push the torso to the side, looking out over the left shoulder if you've got space. This isn't the biggest twist in the world, but have a little think about what the hips are doing, how the hips might move, how the torso and the ribs might move, how the shoulder, the neck, and the head all add in. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, if you find you've got a bit of extra space, maybe you can go a little further. But equally, if you're really at your limit, there's no point in continuing. And if you've overdone it, you can always pull back a little. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, let's reroute things back towards the center and swap. So left hand to the outside of the right leg, right hand behind us onto the mat. Take a breath in, lengthen through the spine. And on the exhale, start to twist everything sideways. Thinking about what the hips are doing, the ribs, the chest, the shoulder, the neck, and the head. Same as before, you might find one side completely different to the other, or one side might feel a lot tighter or stiffer. That's fine. It just means maybe you don't need to go so far. Take a breath in. Use the exhale to go a little further if you've got space. Take one more inhale. And one more exhale. Let's start to reroute back towards the center. And then let's take a little rock from one side to another. Give the spine a chance to sort of disengage and re-engage itself. Amazing. And then we're going to separate the legs out and we're going to push the soles of the feet together. So it's up to you how much of a stretch you want with this. Maybe you will have noticed in the pigeon pose whether your hips feel particularly open or not today. Once you've got the soles of the feet together, you can pull the legs in towards the groin a little bit. You're going to know straight away if you go too far because it's going to feel kind of uncomfortable. Find the right position. Have a bit of a wiggle until you feel like there's a little tension in both sides of the legs. You can grab hold of the feet and open them out to the side like a really bad book. And when you do that, it's quite hard to see on someone else, but if you look at my knees, they do move closer towards the floor. So that's what we're seeking here, this external rotation of knee to floor. If your knees are up here and you're opening out with the feet, you'll still turn them closer towards the floor. So it's quite functional regardless of what version of this you're doing or how complex it looks. So with the feet open, take a big breath in, lengthen through the spine, grow as tall as you possibly can. And on the exhale, let's start to tip the torso forward and down. Baddha Konasana. So we're trying to keep the spine in this really straight line, and that includes the neck. So as you're tipping further forward, maybe your gaze will move from slightly out in front of you on the floor, closer towards your feet. If you're lucky enough that your arms touch your legs, maybe you can push the arms into the legs to facilitate folding further forward, but be really mindful about that spine. We want it to stay in a straight line. If you hit a point where your spine is starting to curve over, you've gone too far. You can lift it back up a little bit and keep that straight line going instead. Take a breath in and an exhale. Take one more inhale. One more exhale. And on the next breath in, let's release the feet from the hands a little bit and lift the torso back upright. And keeping the feet in this position, maybe wiggle them out in front a little bit so we make this diamond shape a lot bigger, a lot more open. And we're going to take our second Baddha Konasana, which is our more relaxed, surrendery, passive one. So if you want to grab hold of the top of the feet and interlace the fingers together, you can. Some people don't like that. They like to just reach the hands forward on the floor. It's up to you which one you choose. But regardless of which it is, try to lengthen through the spine that little bit extra. And exhale, fold the whole torso forward and down. Let the shoulders round, let the spine round, let the head fall. If you're the kind of person whose head touches your feet, this is the place to do it. And it's up to you if you want this to be really passive and restorative, or if you do want to make it a challenge. I quite like it being passive and restorative, so I just let the gravity do the work. But if you want to make things a little bit trickier or more challenging, you can use the hands on the feet like a little lever and start to actively press yourself a little bit further forward. Totally up to you, very much a personal preference. Kind of depends on how a person feels on any given day. Take an inhale and an exhale, maybe noticing that the body's starting to come down a little bit, that it doesn't feel so stressed out, that the heart rate is down and the breathing rate's down, and maybe things are starting to get a little cooler. Take one more inhale and an exhale. And on the breath in, let's nice and slowly start to release and lift the torso back upright. Maybe give yourself a little wiggle from one side to another. If you want to, you can do whole pushes from one side to another to release things. And then we're going to stretch the legs out in front of us, stretch the arms out in front, and we're going to lie down. So it's totally up to you. If you want to use that as a core exercise, you can. Please make sure you have enough space behind you to be safe. And exhale to lower it. Getting ready for our finishing sequence, our back bends. So it's totally up to you which variation of this you want to take. But once you hit the floor, maybe have a little bit of a wiggle. Make the back secure and comfortable for you. Everyone's back is different. And then when you're ready, we'll bend the knees, bring the soles of the feet to the floor, and take our back bend variations. So you can take your bridge, you can take your wheel. We're going to do two of them, so you can certainly do one twice or both of them once. That's totally fine. Your choice. If you're taking bridge, on a breath in, we're going to lift the hips up towards the ceiling. And if you make a gap between your bum and the floor, you can either support the hips with the hands, or if you want to, you can interlace the hands beneath the body, rolling the shoulder blades in towards one another and pushing down into the knees and feet to grow a little bit taller each time. Really depends on the person and on the day which variation of these you want to take. When you're in your bridge pose, you can certainly come up onto tippy toes, lift one leg in the air, lift the other leg in the air. It gives you a chance to see what the balance feels like or looks like. And it's nice sometimes to just have a little bit of variation in our poses. These look really, really cool. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's start to release the hands from wherever they're at and lower it down, upper back, middle back, lower back to the floor. And once you're back on the floor, maybe dropping the knees from one side to another, little windshield wipers like in your car. If you've created any kind of stiffness or tension and a different movement would be more suitable, feel free to do the different movement, fine by me. And then we're going to get ready for our second back bend. So you can take the same bridge pose, or if you want to take If you want to take a full wheel, you can certainly take a full wheel, but the position is basically the same. Knees pointed up towards the ceiling, soles of the feet on the mat, bringing the hands alongside the ears, turning them upside down, and lifting the hips upward to come into our full wheel position. It's up to you whether you want to do it or not. Totally depends on the person. If you've been practicing it for quite a while and you want to build to it or try out something different with it, that's cool too. Sometimes, depending on how the class has gone as a whole, you may not necessarily have the energy for full wheel, and that's fine. These look really, really good. Regardless of where you're at, think about constantly lifting with the hips, really pushing down into the knees and down into the feet. Because even though you're lifting the hips a lot, the legs and the feet can do a lot of work in keeping you upright. Take one more inhale and one more exhale. One last breath in, and let's start to lower it all down. Upper back, middle back, lower back to the mat. And then we can pull the knees in towards the chest, wrap the arms around the legs, maybe rock a little bit from one side to another. Really try to focus that rocking into the lower spine, just to prevent any tension building there. And same thing goes, if a different movement feels like it will be more useful, please take a different one. That's totally fine. And then we'll drop the soles of the feet back down onto the mat, and we'll get ready for our Shavasana, our corpse pose. So maybe you need to put on socks or a jumper or grab a blanket or something like that. And then we're going to point the toes towards the corners of the mat. We're going to drop the arms down beside the body. Let the palms point up towards the ceiling. And give the body a few seconds to find the right space for Shavasana. Maybe you need to move the legs a little bit. Maybe you need to move the arms a little bit. Give yourself a few seconds to find comfort. And then take a big breath in and exhale it all out. Kind of saying goodbye to this practice, letting it pass into the past and not focusing too much on it, finding some relaxation. Take another deep inhale. And on the exhale, closing the eyes and slowly bringing the body to a point of stillness and rest. Notice how the body feels against the floor, the back of the head, the shoulders, the backs of the arms, the lower back, the bum, maybe the calves and the heels, those little pressure points against the floor. Take a breath in and exhale, get really heavy. Let those pressure points sink even lower, almost like the ground is rising up to meet you. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, settle into full rest, finding a shallow breathing that suits you and letting the whole body just relax. And start to bring a little bit of movement back into the fingers and toes, letting the noise from the outside back in. Maybe rotating the wrists and the ankles to find a little bit of extra space and awakening. And maybe on a breath in, you can reach the arms up overhead. Take a big long stretch, tips of the fingers to the very bottoms of the toes. And exhale, maybe pull the knees in towards the chest. Wrap the arms around the legs. Give yourself a little hug. Maybe rock a little bit from one side to another if you fancy it, or forwards and backwards if you prefer. And then however you choose, we'll all come back to seating, cross legs on the mat. Take your time. We'll bring the prayer to the center of the chest. We'll inhale to lift it up and exhale it down. Little thanks to everyone who joined us. Being assaulted by a dog.